but koshas are a very important part of yoga. So what does the word kosha mean? The word kosha means sheath or body. You know what a sheath is, a layer. Okay, so we are made up of what we call sheaths. In our being, we have 5 sheaths. Will you all say 5? 5? Okay. The first one, obviously, is your physical body, right? That's the most external. It's what you know, you can touch, you can feel. Now, how do you look after your body? Nutrition. What else? Good. We're coming to that one. Good. Yeah. Cleanliness, sleep. Yes. All these things. Now, your body is, the body sheath is called Anamaya Kosha. Can you all repeat it? Anamaya Kosha. And this is your food body. And this is the body that you show out to the world. So it is really important how you nurture your body. Make sure that you eat things that are good for your body. Your body does not belong to you, okay? It's on loan. Okay, your parents had a great time and you came into being. Their genetics in your body. Okay, then they gave you a name that you didn't even choose, right? And then when you leave the world, you're gonna leave it behind. So your body is a gift, remember that. So anything you do in extreme, you hurt your body. I always say, what you overuse, you will lose. What you don't use, you will also lose. So remember, in all your practices with your body, try and maintain balance. All right? Now, sometimes when people become hatha yogis, they tend to get very exaggerated. You know, maybe everything is hatha, and they forget everything else. Don't. You've got to balance it. Because what you do, if you just focus on the body and not on the other koshas, which we'll be coming to, what you will receive is what you put into life, you get back, right? So if you're only focusing on your body, what will happen to your body? You'll be very body conscious. And you'll be so body conscious that you will forget the real goal of yoga, as I mentioned earlier on. So always when you work with your body, work with it in moderation. You know, you see it all over the world now. People are so engrossed in the Anamaya Kosha, and you see they go to all kinds of plastic surgeries, Botox, etc., because they're so fearful that the body is getting older. That's so much focus on the Anamaya Kosha. Is it wrong to do any of these things? No, there's nothing wrong in it. You know, if you want to do a little bit here, one of my students said, Nalanie, I did a little Botox. And she said, is that wrong? I said, no, nothing is wrong if you use it in the right way. Does it make you happier? Yes, it makes me happy. Does it make you feel great? It makes me feel great. Okay, remember, it's rat poison. Do you want to put so much in your body, though? No, I won't do it again, but it just makes me feel good for now. Fine, it's medicine for her mind, because her mind was sick, so she needed that. So we can't judge anything. Just don't do anything in extreme, because then you can really bring your body into danger. And like I said, it's a gift. You have a responsibility to look after it. Also, when you have an illness, then don't just sit there and expect the doctors to do everything for you. They don't have all the answers. And how many of you know that by now? They don't have all the answers. I wish they did, but they don't. So it's really important that you understand about your Anamaya Kosha and how important it is. And start to, when you have an illness, start to see what treatment you need. Look into allopathic medicine. Allopathic is, medical. And look into natural medicines. Look into diet. Study quite a few. Most important, look at yourself. Now, how I learned about myself was, I started to notice when I was working with my Anamaya Kosha, my physical body, when I started the hatha, that when I ate, for example, tomatoes, my mouth would get like little stingy feeling, my tongue. And if I had vinegar, it will have like a furry feeling. Now these are feelings I never felt before. If I had raw onion, I didn't like it, but it would make my body scream You know, just can't do it. Raw garlic, which is supposed to be very good for people, is terrible for me. I react so badly in my mouth. So if I'm not reacting well in my mouth, I'm not going to react well in my body. So what is one person's nectar is another person's poison. And what is one person's poison is another's nectar. So get to know your own medicine for your body. And you know everything starts from what? Stress. Okay? So that's what we'll have to look at next when we go to the other kosha. So the first kosha, let's call it the Anamaya Kosha, or the food sheath. Okay? Ana in Sanskrit means food. Maya, you know? Illusion. It's all an illusion, guys. Let's enjoy the illusion while we have it, because one day we'll be all gone. So let us know that all this is an illusion, but while we have it, let us live it in the fullest, because we live it for the divine, the spirit. The spirit or the oneness comes from what we call God or divinity, or the power source, whatever you want to call it. But it's what takes a part of itself and filters into all of us. So we have a responsibility to keep the instrument well. That's our responsibility, so we can follow a life's mission. Now, of course, suffering comes to everybody. Everybody, correct? Everybody. And you can wallow away in your suffering for the rest of your life, in which case your instrument will remain forever sick, and you will never follow your born mission. This is where Anamaya Kosha helps you. If you observe your body constantly, and you notice, you will start to know, okay, what foods will affect your mental state, because they do. Do you know certain foods will affect your mental state? Yeah. You know, doctors are coming up with the gut is your brain. You got it. So sometimes it's not your mind, okay, that is going crazy. It's you might be allergic to a certain food. Nowadays they've discovered gluten is a great culprit, right? You know that, right? And sugar can be a great culprit. Not all the time. Nowadays it's the other extreme. Don't have any sugar. So of course this again involves the practice of what we call pratyahara, sense control. Cheat once in, for example, she's gluten affects her, but once in a while, maybe once in three weeks or 4 weeks, they're all going out and everybody feels like having a piece of pizza. It's okay to cheat. It's better to cheat once in a while and make yourself happy than to feel, oh, I'm never going to have this for the rest of my life, because that stress will actually make the body more sick. So when you cheat a little here, cheat a little there, and also the gut will produce a little bit of the bacteria that needs to fight off these things. Because if you become too over clean in your body, you don't build the bacteria that you need to fight off certain disease. Like nowadays, you go everywhere and everybody's so clean, right? So they go to India or something, they get a disease right away. Whereas when my kids were young, they go on the floor, and it wasn't like constantly with wipes, and I would see all these mothers, you know, wash your hands, and the poor kid, they're going to grow up to be the nervous wreck, you know. It's just a little too much. So they don't have any resistance to certain diseases because the immune system is so squeaky clean that there's no bacteria there to fight it. The second one is, who knows? Pranamaya. What does prana mean?
Breath.
Yeah, your breath body, the sheath that is your breath. Without breath, there is no life, right? And in the Bible it said, and the Lord God took the dust off the ground and breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, prana. Now, pranayama, the practice of pranayama, is far more important than you will ever believe. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, it says there are two practices that really work in this day and age. And those practices are japa, which is a constant repetition of a mantra, and also pranayama. Because you all know, when you close your eyes, let's do it now. Sit with your spine erect. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears, round the back and down. Take a slow, deep breath. And now exhale very slowly through the nostrils. Hold your breath. Inhale. And exhale. Open your eyes. One deep breath can calm your whole body and mind. There is one, I love the practice of pranayama because it is one way that we can physically use to stop the chatter of the mind. You all know what the mind does when it goes crazy. It doesn't stop, does it? It's like da 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 da. Maybe sometimes you try to use a mantra to stop it, and then you've got the mantra and the chatter. There's double going on, and then you've got your voice inside of you saying, "Why can't I get this right? Because nothing is working." Any of you know this feeling? You're doing it all, but nothing is working. Okay? So, but when this goes on, there's so much stuff. Just take a deep breath. And most effectively, if you take a deep breath in nature, that really works. That's the best medicine. Go out in nature. Because when you're in an environment that is jam-packed with negative energy or just too many thoughts, in Gibraltar there's just too many thoughts because you see one building after another, one office next to another. There's too many vibrations going there. So much internet, all blocking your vibrational system. So this is why it's really important to go out into an open space and just take some deep breaths. You might feel, I don't want to go out there, this practice is not going to work. It is going to work. It is phenomenal. I have worked with pranayama with many people who have been really in a bad state mentally and, gone to states when they felt they would end up in mental homes. And just teaching them, just being with them for 20 minutes and just breathing in and out with them slowly and going through the different practices of pranayama, you could see in 20 minutes a total different person coming out, okay, of that experience. Of course, they'll feel better for 1 day, 2 days, and then they'll go back to their old ways. This is why the practice has to be done for a long time without a break and it's even when you get an illness, right? The doctor will say, if you're really sick, take the antibiotics for 5 days. Don't stop before you finish the course. You see, many people start when they start yoga, they see that it helps them, and then they feel really well. And the mistake they make is they stop. And then it's, when they start again 3, 4 years later, it's harder to rev the engine up again. While the engine is new, it works really well. You have the inspiration, you have the energy, you have the drive. So keep that engine going. The moment you stop it, it's much harder to get it going again. And that's why many years ago I made a promise to myself that 30 years ago that I would not eat until I meditated. So 30 years later, this is the result of what it's given me, the medicine it's been for me. So make yourself a promise. What are you going to practice? What do you want in your life? How much do you want your peace? You don't have too much time to think. Okay? Life is short. You don't have too much time to waste. Once you know what you want, go for it, stick with it, and make a promise, make a vow. For me, I said, I do not want to die unless I know who God is. Now I know God is not a person. At least I learned that much. I don't think I'll ever know what God is. I think it's beyond the mind, but I think it's within the experience of the heart. And that's what I have learned. So it's taken me 30 years to learn this. This is the science of it we're talking about today. But this science, it can be used, it's so useful for our well-being and the well-being of everybody else. So Pranamaya Kosha is so important because it is the bridge between the physical and the mental. Okay, you can see the body. You can feel your breath. But you can't really see your mind. You can hear it think, right? Can you hear your thoughts? Yes. You can hear your thoughts, but you can't really see your mind. It's subtle. So pranayama is that practice that bridges the gap between the body and the mind. Okay, it's your bridge. So when you're agitated, always remember that this is one of the best medicines. Also for meditation purposes, breathing is a great way, as you've seen. Even with one deep breath, you can go deep within. It's not about keeping the mind quiet. I'm too worried about this. It's about transcending the mind. It's like, looking from a plane, right, and looking at the clouds underneath, kind of thing. So you're watching, you're observing, you become the witness of your mind. So you don't get caught in the clouds, you look above and you just enjoy watching all that nonsense, but you're not part of that nonsense. And that's what I learned to do. And pranayama helps you to get into that state, as you did just now by one breath. You can watch from above. You're still, your body is still, your mind may be moving, but you're watching it because you're breathing. Your focus is on the breath, all right? The next one would be what?
Manomaya Kosha.
Which is your mental sheath, your mind. And all that we are studying is all about the mind, right? What is yoga? Yoga's Shita Vritti Nirodha. What does it mean? The restraints of the modification of the mind stuff is yoga. And then what happens? The seer abides in its own true nature. So what is the purpose of the mind? You see, the mind is, if you think of the mind like a mirror, okay? The mind is the mirror. We have a mind because without the mind, we cannot find the self, okay? So when the mind is really calm and clear, you will experience who you really are. Which is quiet, peace, tranquility. You will experience it. However, this mirror is always covered with so many images, so many thought patterns, that there's very few moments in our day that we can remember or see who we truly are. Because it's all words, it's all thoughts, it's all thoughts. Master Shivananda used to say, your thoughts create your words create your actions create your character, and your character creates your destiny. So it all starts here. It is so important to understand that your mind is an instrument for you. It is not you. As all the great masters of all the different traditions have told us that we come from the divine, and as such are instruments of divine. That's who we really are. We just come here to have a little fun in this Maya. But we forgot that. But our mind, so the first step with our minds is we've got to make it pretty clean. Why? How do you feel when you're jealous? Yeah, how do you feel when you're angry? Yeah, angry all the time and you're blaming all that. How do you feel? It's not clean. So nothing, you can't filter not anything through that mind because it's blocked by these things. But when you're calm and peaceful, how do you feel? There's just silence. There's a joy. You don't know where it's coming from. But there's a joy and there is a silence and there's peace. So the first thing we do, the first step with our mind, is to find out in our own personalities what is the cause of the disturbance in our mind. What is causing any conflict in your life? If then you find there's something, and if you listen to your mind, you will know right away, because what's really conflicting you will keep coming up, and it might have a very soft voice in the realm of thoughts, but you'll hear one thought that is really silent in the back and trying to tell you something you don't want to hear. And this is the thought that you have to bring right forward. And that thought is nothing to do with anybody else, but a reflection of what you don't really want to face in your very own life. And a hint to get close to that thought that you don't want to face is you will notice those faults in somebody else. And normally it's your partner, by the way. So if you're constantly telling your partner, you're not listening to me, an example, are you listening to them? Watch, it's really clever. And that's why relationships are really quite important. They tell you a lot about yourself. So rather than criticizing the voice that is talking to you, listen to what they're saying to you. Because the moment somebody tells us something, we're in defense. No, that's what you are, that's not who I am. Ask yourself, do I have this inside of me, okay? And when you discover, and you're truthful to yourself, it makes you feel a bit sick, okay? It does make you feel sick. I've named this many years ago when I first started teaching, because that used to make me really sick, as ego sickness, okay? It actually makes you feel nauseated. You feel very uncomfortable with yourself. That's why when many people go through the teacher training, they have these periods. I don't know, any of you guys have it? You feel a bit nauseated. I don't know why I'm taking this spiritual thing. Maybe it doesn't agree with me. Maybe, I should be feeling like this. I should be on top of the world. Because your ego is coming up. And you don't want to accept it. But you have to purge it to release it. If you don't purge it, it's like a bubbly pot. It will just go boom, and you go into deep depression, or you go into some kind of mad state of schizophrenia. Because that's how bad it can become. Or you can become extremely sick physically. You can really become physically sick, and you don't know why. Or you can go into a deep, deep depression because you're not understanding what's going on in your body. It's just coming up, face it, and you find it difficult to face it, really important to speak to somebody who's gone through it and understands it, all right? And just know it's part of the process. It's part of the process. The spiritual journey is not an easy one, but once you start it, you can never go back, because that one was even worse. And that's what yoga practices do for us. And our sheaths are built there so that when we understand them, we know which sheath to work with when. This is the science of how and what, and how the Hatha Yoga class also works as a whole. So watch that mind of yours. Really, as you think, it will become. And what makes a lot of people very sick is having this desire. And desire is not a bad thing if it doesn't control you. The problem is some people have this desire that controls them completely, and it becomes an obsession, an addiction. When that desire is doing that to you, you need to get detached from that desire. For example, if I don't get a partner, I'll never be happy. Wrong, that's not true. Learn to be happy as you are, and the partner will come. I can't live without drugs. Not true. Drugs do not control you. Learn who you are, and the drugs will leave you. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all its righteousness, and all else will be added unto you. You're going the wrong way round about it. Find the divine inside, make your connection with God, and everything else will work. You know, find that peace within you, and then everything else will come onto you. Don't do it the wrong way round, and that's how we all work. We want the outside to please us, and we think everything's going to work from now on. Sorry, the outside is just a gift for you. And remember, everything is a gift. Even if you have a partner today, tomorrow we're all going to be separated and die, right? Isn't it true? Some of us have faced it already. Not an easy journey, but it's a journey. And the journey we chose to experience, to learn, to share, to love, we chose it. And to make the journey as beautiful as possible is to understand so much about your mind, because that's where it all starts from. It's your middle point in understanding who you really are. The next kosha would be, anybody know?
Vijnanamaya Kosha.
Vijnanamaya Kosha. And that is what? Intellectual body. Now, this is where knowledge comes in useful. If your intellect is very basic, you know, very animalistic, I eat, I get ready, I have sex, and that's what all life is about, right? That's basic. It's very just, that's what animals do, right? Eat, sleep, have sex, right? And procreate. So if your intelligence is very basic, your mind thoughts will be based on just those premises. Do you see what I mean? So this is where knowledge helps you to discover who you really are. So another word is for this kind of understanding is buddhi. Can you say buddhi? Which means your intellect. So with this knowledge, what happens to your intellect? You're giving it medicine. You're elevating the mind to a place where it can really understand that you are spirit. Most people I have met in my life before after I started teaching yoga, really 99% of the people I met, I mean today people are much more wise than 30 years ago, 99% of the people I met believed they were the body-mind. 99% did not believe that the spirit, that they were spirit. So they were filled with fear, anger, worry, guilt, all these horrific feelings, because the intellect was educated to that degree. This is where spiritual knowledge is useful, and this is why it's so important, as Sri Patanjali tells us to what? Swadhyaya. Study spiritual books. Every day read something uplifting. In your era, when the first group of teachers were taught, they weren't so lucky. We were considered witches and weird people. That's true. All of us were weird, we were a cult, we were this and that. But today you're so blessed. Everybody's talking spirit. They're going beyond religion, which is where we started. We started beyond religion. We accepted all traditions, but we went beyond that. We're all one. And religions were brought to us to teach us how to become and live as one. But then politics got into religion and changed it and confused us all, made us all judge each other, and separation happened. You know, and with this separation came pain and sorrow and all the nonsense that we face today. So this knowledge, by having this kind of knowledge, you maintain the sanity of the mind. Nothing is yours. Don't be so attached. This belongs to me, that belongs to me. Because in the end, you will find that all these people are going to hurt you one day or another. I'm so sorry to tell you that. But you don't need to feel bad about that, because it will happen to all of us, and there's a way out. And the intellectual knowledge is the way out. Because then when you see that all these things are happening to you, pain is coming into your life and you're suffering, what will you also see at the same time? You will start to wonder, you see? life itself is teaching me not to be so attached. And after you've been hurt a few times, you know what you'll say? I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered with this nonsense anymore. You actually become detached from it. And you learn when people hurt you so much, rather than, oh, please like me, please. Oh, you don't like me? You detach from it. And every time you detach a little bit, what happens? You feel more and more free. And when you feel more and more free, there's no judgment. You know, there's no complaints in your mind, oh, this person did this to me and that person did this to me. Most conversations I hear from people are like that. You know? I say, oh my God, you're really living in hell. What do you think? Oh, I think, well, now I have to give a class, work through me. Now I have to clean the table. I don't think too much. Unless I have obviously a project, you know, or something to prepare, then I'll think how to prepare it. I spend my time thinking about what this one is thinking or that one is thinking, and I see most people's minds are thinking that way all the time. You know, my husband is thinking like this. How do you know he's thinking like this? You're sitting here and you're telling me what he's thinking. He could be having a nice beer and having a great time. And here you're suffering. He's thinking this and he's going to do this. Where is your mind? So get back to reality. What is happening now? With educating yourself, you get the strength to know the truth, okay? This is where education is really important. And I tell my students, when you finish the course, it's actually the beginning of the course. Start to learn, to study. The first few years, spend a lot of time researching, studying, looking. Find out the truth for yourself. Every time you read a sutra or a sloka, go research it. What does it say in this tradition? What is it? Oh my God, they're all saying the same thing in different words. You know, ultimately you see they're all saying, oh my God, God chose me to express God. Oh my God, and I've messed it all up by being such a bad student. I blew it by complaining and fighting and arguing. You know, my master used to say this phrase to all of us, and I could never understand it in the beginning. I'm so glad I do now, because it brings a lot of peace. He used to say, it's all its name. It's all its form. It's all its deeds. And it's all for good. And when something happens, I go, no, it's not all for good. How can this be for good? And now when something negative happens, something really good is going to come out of it. I'm just excited to see what good after this bad is going to come out of it. And always, I see if you're patient and you have the knowledge, you're not scared now of this bad thing that happened to you. You're quite excited to see how you get yourself out of it. You find a solution very quickly because your mind is not consumed by fear. Will I ever get out of this? You know you will. You know the plan is perfect. You're not consumed by fear. And fear is the worst thing for the mind. Fear, guilt, and worry. So this is, and so that's why you educate, read spiritual books every day, because we fall. Sri Patanjali knows we all go through doubts and disappointments, and he tells us, please educate yourself daily, because you need it, all right? Every day, listen to something beautiful. And then we have Anandamaya Kosha. Okay, Ananda means bliss. And that's why we meditate. And that's why we do all these practices to get into our bliss body, because we were born to be happy. And when I heard Gurudev said, do you know what your birthright is? He used to say, what is your birthright? I don't know, Gurudev. You were born to be happy, so why are you unhappy? He used to keep saying that to me in the early years when I used to go, Gurudev, you know, like the first few years, you're all still blaming and still doing all the wrong things. He'd say, you were born to be happy, get on with it. He slammed the phone down on me, you know. And then when I finally got it, I remember his last trip here in 1996, and I said to him, Gurudev, please scold me as much as you like, because every time you scold me, I learn something new. And he said, well, there's nothing to scold you. And but it's a journey for the rest of your life. It is And thank God, because if you've got all that you need, you'll be gone. So the reason that we're here is because we have a mission. I mean, the divine wants to use us in one way or the other. So if the way is uncomfortable, stop complaining. Just go, okay, now you've given me a really uncomfortable period. Give me the strength to get through it too. Give me the strength. As you think, if you don't believe in yourself, that's the power of prayer. Because many of us don't believe that this divine power is right here, right now. It's nowhere else. And we don't believe it. So this is why we use prayer to connect to it. But it is in us. The Bhagavad Gita says, I am in you. You know, when are you so close to me? When you have forgiven, when you love, when you don't hate, that's when you're close to me. So when you're in those kind of feelings, you know you're very close to the divine, because how do you feel? Ananda. You know, this bliss feeling, which is different from actually a load off your shoulder, is like you've done something spiritually uplifting, and it worked. It worked. And there's a feeling of, it worked. It actually works. By me teaching, I'm actually feeling the bliss. The teacher gets more bliss than the students by teaching. And that is the aha feeling that feeling of, because it's a different kind of knowledge that you're giving. And it takes you to a consciousness, especially when you're giving a class, you forget yourself. Once you've done it like 10 times or 20 times, you're not there anymore in the class, because you're not thinking about the words anymore. You're just watching and it's flowing through you. That's when you really experience Anandamaya Kosha. That's when it comes into force. And that's what, whoa, and that's why people say thank you to me after a talk. I go, oh, this is really my joy. Thank you for listening, because while I'm doing this, I'm in which kosha? Anandamaya Kosha. And then you realize that it's a wonderful experience, and that's when it becomes a drug. And you want more, and you want more. But then it comes to a stage, as you do it many years, it's not even wanting more anymore. It's always there. It's always there now. Even if this is going crazy, you always remember your bliss body. You never forget it. And that's what comes with practice. That's why, practice for the first 3 or 4 years is really important, the self-discipline. You really need to do I would say the first 10 years. I did hatha yoga all the time. It's only now that I don't need to do it all the time. Don't think that any practice you do has gone to waste. It may feel you're never going to get there, but you are getting there. You are. Of course you will fall. Sri Patanjali tells us that throughout your years you're going to fall. It's normal. Don't panic. Oh, somebody's going to go crazy. I'm going to go crazy. Don't panic. Call somebody. Be around high energy. Be around people who will lift you. Don't stay alone in your home and lock yourself up. It's the worst medicine you can have. You really need uplifting and reminding at this time. Please, I've seen too many yogis fall into the trap that they're embarrassed that they've fallen, and they feel like they've lost their self-esteem and they don't want to show their faces. Nothing to be embarrassed about. We're human. When you can accept your downfalls, you can accept everybody's downfalls. It will bring compassion to you. So rise up in your most difficult times by asking for help, all right? You will always find it. Ask and it shall be given to you. Knock and the door will be open. Seek and you will find. You will. You just will. But you got to do it. God helps those who help themselves. You can't sit there and say, oh God, help me, help me, help me. No, God will listen to you. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I said 5,000 million prayers for my husband. Could I save his life? No, his time was up. The only thing I had to learn is accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can. Accept my pain and go through the pain, and it will pass one day. Who doesn't go through loss? And it was the worst pain in the world, but thank God for Vijnanamaya Kosha, because while I was going through the most horrible physical and mental pain, I had Anandamaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha to help me, because I understood what was happening. It was a physical loss and a mental loss, but I hadn't lost my soul or spirit. I was left behind for a reason. There was a reason, and I had to find that mission and the reason. And the mind and the body doesn't want to accept it. But again, with the knowledge, Vijnanamaya Kosha, you learn that, okay, there's just have to keep going forward. And this is the gift of yoga. I don't know how people do it without this gift. I really don't. And many people you will see, they lose a partner or they lose something, they might become depressed for the rest of their lives. I've heard of so many stories where people become agoraphobic, they don't leave their homes after that. Or they cling on to the kids, and the poor kids, please, Mommy, what do I do with my mom or my dad? Doesn't leave me alone, I need to live. They're clinging, still clinging. So you don't want to do that. You want to live in freedom, even in pain. And this is what the koshas are. This is what we're made of. This is how we are built up. And beyond Anandamaya Kosha is not the end there. This is the end of this individual jiva, or body. This is individual soul. When we get to Anandamaya Kosha, it's not the end. Then there is, beyond that, the one self. The absorption into that self. And that cannot be explained because just no words to do that. And there just isn't. It's, we were reading the Gita yesterday and he goes, there is a place beyond all pain, right? Beyond all existence, beyond the sun, beyond the moon, that's where I am. You can't even imagine that in your mind. Beyond the sun, beyond the moon. We're never going to imagine it with the mind. The mind cannot do it. And we're trying to understand the divine with the mind. You can never do it with the mind. Got it? The mind can help you to understand the knowledge. But then use the knowledge. As the Gita says also, once you understand this knowledge, then the scriptures are no longer that useful. Because then you absorb the knowledge, you live the knowledge, you become the knowledge, you breathe the knowledge. Every time you get agitated, take a deep breath. It just comes up. You just know that you know that you know that you know. And when you know that, then it keeps you in a very free space. You become free. And this is what the word moksha means. Freedom while we are alive. And that is the goal. That is the goal. And even if you don't reach it, the journey is great when you can serve, love, give, meditate, purify, realize, do all the stuff. It's a great journey. It's much better than living in a hell of gossip and he did this and she did this and you're wrong and you're wrong, and hearing people swearing in their household. Some of the people I see, I go, oh my God, it's hell. How do they live this life? When there's so much out there for us to live for, so much joy. What have we created in our homes? What kind of language, the way we treat each other is so wrong. We've got it all wrong. Then we expect our kids to get it right. We have to be the examples. And if you study the science, you can't go wrong. And practice and practice and practice and practice. And so this is the study of the koshas. And if you read the sutras, it will cover all these koshas. It will cover all the koshas.